On a Tuesday, August 1st. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we check in with our next guest, columnist from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, KTRS contributor. Good morning, Tony Messenger.
Morning, McGraw. How are you today?
We're doing good. Thanks for checking in.
That's what I like to hear.
What's your beef with the poor Ellisville Mayor Adam Paul? What's he doing? He's just minding his own business, running a nice, small little town out there.
Minding his own business, trying to get his voters riled up about potential city merger, city consolidation, reconciliation, whatever you want to call it. People have multiple names for it. Mayor Paul and the council voted to put a couple of non-binding resolutions on their ballot next April in which Ellisville residents will basically vote against some potential, city-county reunification. And they're doing this while the task force put together by Better Together and supported by Mayor Cruz and by County Executive Stu Stinger is in the process of basically determining what that plan is going to look like. And to one degree, I think that people like Mayor Paul and Mayor Nations in Chesterfield, who are constantly saber-rattling against any sort of unification, I think they make the case easier. They make the case easier because their residents, people in Ellisville and Chesterfield, my neighbors in West County, are able to see that this is bureaucrats trying to control their fiefdom rather than trying to do something to build for a greater St. Louis. And so ultimately, I called Mayor Paul to task in part because he came to power. We know his name because the first thing that he did in politics was actually something that had a regional flavor to it. He fought tax subsidies for Walmart, which was part of this nonstop municipal retail roulette that goes on in St. Louis County, where one municipality has a piece of property that a big box store wants to come in, and they offer tax increment finance subsidies, and the big box store moves and leaves a hulking empty box store in the last municipality, which then calls the next big box store and says, come save us. And they just keep passing these tax subsidies around from city to city to city with no growth overall in the St. Louis region. And that's how Adam Paul became mayor. And now he's standing up against regionalism before we even know what the regional plan looks like.
So it's almost like a smaller version of Brexit, right? I mean, Brexit was a non-binding resolution put to the citizens of Great Britain. This is a non-binding resolution sent to the citizens of Ellisville, whether or not they want to merge, reunify, or whatever else. What's so terrible, though, about seeing what the people of Ellisville, how they vote?
Because you're voting on something that isn't real, for one, because you're using your bully pulpit to work against a unified future rather than using your bully pulpit to say, hey, look, these folks are talking about something that might raise our economic value, that might actually increase the value of your home, that might actually raise the overall economic ship of St. Louis City and St. Louis County. Why aren't mayors talking about that? That's what business leaders are talking about. They've looked at the numbers. They've studied it. They understand, and their employees are ultimately going to understand, I believe, when a real vote comes to play, whenever that is, in 2018 or 2020 or sometime down the road. But why aren't those mayors using their bully pulpit to look at those facts and talk about that? The reason that they aren't doing that is because they lose political power.
Right, and so you can argue that because in your column it points out, rightfully so, many, many, many people, average citizens, rank and file St. Louisans say, look, this system we have is broken. We need to merge. We need to do something. We need to cost cut. We need to sort of pool our resources together. But the reason why local people who might think that don't say that, because it's clearly unpopular with the people who are putting them into office.
Right. It's unpopular with some of the people that are putting them into office. Not all of them. As I pointed out in the column, I've talked to plenty of citizens, plenty of voters who think that some form of consolidation is the overriding issue facing St. Louis right now. And when it comes up in specific cases, people get it. People understand it. When it came up in trying to understand Prop P and trying to understand the soccer stadium, people understand why a regional solution is something that is so important for the city of St. Louis, for St. Louis County, for all of these little municipalities.
But, and let me interrupt you. But I don't think Adam Paul, who's a very nice man, but been on the show a million times, I don't think he's going to persuade people who are against it. Because as many people are for it, many people will also say, I don't want, wait, my kid's going to school with kids from Richmond Heights? What are you talking about? And I don't want those North County kids coming down here and going, right? I don't want my trash picked up by that guy over there.
That's exactly where you need a mayor. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday who reacted to my column who had that exact sort of response, and I said, "Wait a minute, nobody's talking about that. That's not what this is about." And we talked about it. He said, "I'm going to put my house up for sale as soon as this happens, if it does, and move out of St. Louis County." I said, "No, you're not." I said, "Because the day it happens, the value in your house goes up," and I explained why. And he listened for a little bit, and then he said, "Well, those city workers, they're lazy. I don't want to merge." Look, for some people, this is about race, and you're not going to convince those people, and you're absolutely right. But there's plenty of people out there that are open to discussion, and my encouragement to our community leaders, and you're starting to see some of it. The Municipal League, for the first time in its history, is endorsing city reentry. Now, I happen to think they're doing that to avoid a larger merger, but that's still progress. Some of the leaders of the Municipal League are having positive conversations about what can happen in terms of a regional conversation. And so that's my encouragement to the mayors of the various now 89 cities in St. Louis County. Let's talk to your constituents about the value of this, whether or not you're going to lose your job because we no longer need 89 mayors and 50-some police chiefs, etc. That's what leadership is, and that's what I'm encouraging some of our mayors to do, is to become stronger leaders as this conversation continues to build.
So you and I agree and disagree on varying parts of this, and not to get into that. But on a side note, I do find it rather odd that who picks up my trash is such a major problem in this region. Right? I mean, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about sharing services and sort of combining things. And every time there's a trash, compact or a trash issue, people get apoplectic over who's going to pick up their trash. I don't understand it.
Because politics is always local. And it's just, not everybody pays attention to the political scene nationally and statewide and regionally like you and I do, for instance.
Yeah.
You and I both know that the mayor of Ellisville, despite my recent column, I had a conversation with Mayor Paul this week. He's a very nice guy. And one of the reasons that I want to encourage Mayor Paul is because I do believe he's shown people that get into politics from a micro issue like he did and got into it for a very real reason. People like that will be listened to sometimes. And so I want him to study the issue and pay attention to the issue and recognize I don't have to be mayor for life if I actually do something serious to improve the community outside of the Ellisville boundaries. But people care about their trash, and they care about their sidewalks, and they care about the tree that's falling in their yard, and they care about the things that are closest to them. And it's easy for mayors to say, well, the city of St. Louis isn't going to shovel your walk. But one of the things I say to people is, isn't there a better way? If no other city in America operates the way we do, and by city I mean, the greater St. Louis,
right,
then isn't there a better way? If you're so convinced that St. Louis is horribly run, and some of those criticisms are fair, we shouldn't have 28 aldermen, etc., then why not be part of devising a system that fixes St. Louis and in effect says, let's run it as a greater city than what we do right now as a very divided city, and see what that does to raise my home value in Wildwood, in Valley Park, in Ellisville, in Chesterfield, in Baldwin, in Florissant, et cetera.
Yeah, no, I get you. People want their trash picked up, and they want it picked up on time. What I don't understand is why they so care about the name on the side of the truck, right? I mean, I get making sure my trash is picked up, but when they change or let's do it cheaper or let's merge with this company and let's do it with that, all of a sudden people are, no, what are you talking about? You're messing with my garbage pickup. We don't need that. I mean, it's just doesn't make any sense. So anyway, all right. Tony, thanks for checking in. Always good. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
Good to talk to you.
Tony.